Welcome back, everyone. It's Outside the Cinema, your weekly source for cult movie discussions. We're your hosts, Bill and Chris. Welcome back.
We are.
Yep. Welcome back. We are have yet another week of Patreon content programmed by you, the listener. You, the Patreon supporter. You, the lover of independent podcasting. And you, friend of the show. This week's friend of the show is Robert. He made 2 suggestions for us. Newer films, which again, totally cool, man. Totally cool. I'm turning down the wrong thing. I'm trying to turn the music down and I'm turning you down.
Oh, okay. That's fine too.
It happens. Yeah. But yeah, so Robert picked a couple flicks for us this week. We'll get to momentarily. First and foremost, I'm sleepy.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I got a pretty good night's sleep last night. Just tired.
Yeah.
In general.
Everybody here was sick for 24 hours.
Ugh.
So that was great. I'm not. I didn't get sick. So that means it'll be like 2 days from now, which is awesome.
Yep. You'll be crumbling.
Yep. 2 days from now, I got an event, a last minute event at work. That's 2 films. One I can't unlock yet because we're having trouble with the key for the security, but I think we got it fixed. And that's when I'll get sick, when I have to be there to do the microphones for the speakers.
Obviously.
Yeah.
What other time would it happen?
It's not that bad. It's not like I got to do one at 9 a.m. and then 7 p.m. So they're one after the other. So that's okay.
That's good.
I just don't like being sick.
No, who does?
I'm sure there are people out there that do, but
no, I can't imagine that. No one wants to feel. No one enjoys feeling like crap physically, at least.
There are people, and we know this because Mr. Cronenberg made a film about it, that have amputation fetishes.
That's different, though. That's different.
No. That just says that everybody has their own thing.
Ugh, I'm really into runny noses.
Hey, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a thing. I'm not looking for it.
Phlegm turns me on.
Hey, it's slippery. It's a natural lubricant.
How would you know, you freak?
I don't know. You brought it up.
What are you talking about? I made a joke. You had to go there and make it real.
Yeah, but you thought of the subject.
I just was thinking sick. First thing I thought of was a runny nose, and the second thing I thought of was somebody coughing with phlegm.
That's fair.
I don't know what you
think
think
I have no dog in this fight. I don't care.
Speaking of dogs in the fight, our buddy Robert.
Filling time.
It's fine. No, Robert has been a supporter of the show for a number of years. He gave us a couple of picks for this week, and I'll just read what he wrote.
Okay.
Here are a few ideas for Patreon picks. Outlaw Johnny Black, 2023, from the Black Dynamite guys, and Sister Tempest from director Joe Badon, who I think you had on the show before. This is true. We did. We had Joe was on the show a couple years ago, or a few years ago. At this point, probably time means nothing anymore. He did a film called The God Inside My Ear, and it played a bunch of festivals with Survival of the Film Freaks.
Oh, was this an interview you did?
Yeah. It was like an interview episode. And just reached out to him. We were up against him in virtually like every festival we went against. God Inside My Ear is quite good. If you've never seen it. And the film that Robert suggested, Sister Tempest, I believe was the follow-up to that.
Okay.
If I am not mistaken. But we'll get into that obviously more.
When you say follow-up, do you mean his next one?
His next one, yes.
In the story?
No,
okay.
Yeah, no relation.
Okay, good.
He gave us a couple additional suggestions in case we had covered those before, but also really enjoyed top 6 lists. Wouldn't mind hearing one here or there. Would love to hear one on surrealist films, especially from the 1980s and 1990s. Thanks for keeping things going for so long and for all the great and not so great reviews. Thank you very much, Robert. Appreciate it. If you would like to be like Robert and suggest films for the show, go to patreon.com/outside the cinema. That is the place to join the Patreon. All the money that we generate there keeps the show alive. It's the first of the month today, which means we paid our bills for our hosting and such. So know that's what's keeping the show alive at this point. It affords us to be able to operate the show at little to no cost to ourselves. Most months it's usually good because of the amount that we have it roll over from time to time. So, but that's the best way to support your favorite podcasters even content creators in general, if they have a Patreon, because that money is directly going to them, and Patreon is pretty good. They don't take a massive chunk of it. They take a little bit, but like it's not so much so that like
it's not a scam.
It's not a scam. Yeah. I mean, we've had a Patreon now for probably over 6 or 7 years at this point, right?
Yeah, and a lot of high profile YouTube creators and stuff are still going with it, so that's how I figure it's still viable.
That's a good way to look at it. All right.
Once the internet starts saying they changed the algorithm, I just sit back and wait and see what happens, and then I know what to do afterwards. I'm not.
That's true. But
they are them influencers. We might shit on them a lot, but they really do know the ins and outs of how to get noticed online. I wish I knew that shit.
Yeah, we were good at it for a very short time.
Back when there were like 18 podcasts.
Yeah.
It was us, Mark Maron, Adam Curry.
No, Adam Curry had already gone. He really? Started the network we were on. What was that network we were on that he started? What the hell
Vimeo?
is it?
Not Vimeo.
Mevio.
Yeah.
That was started by Adam Curry, and then he sold it. And he sold it out to somebody else, and they just got rid of all the podcasts one day.
Oh yeah, that went to hell so fast.
Didn't even tell anyone it was going to happen.
And you're like, the show's gone. Okay, what?
Yeah, I remember, and we had people emailing them, and
that was a mad scramble.
Yeah, we got it back. We were one of the few shows that got back with them because our listeners were like, "Hey, this is where I listen to the show. What's going on?" But it was never the same after that. And then I want to say within a year and a half, maybe, they were like, we're transferring over to video content only. And then 6 months later, they were out of business. So,
oh yeah. We knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
One of the few places that actually paid us. Not much, but.
Well, yeah.
So anyway, all right.
Yeah.
Good times, right? All right. Movies this week: Outlaw, Johnny Black, and Sister Tempest. Do you have a preference on which one we start with?
Not at all.
All right. Let's see. I got a trailer here for Outlaw, Johnny Black. Let's play it.
From the brothers who brought you Black Dynamite comes a brand new movie that's show out of sight. We've been gone for a while, but now we're back with a Western adventure. The Outlaw, Johnny Black. It's a rootin', tootin', 6-gun shooting, romance, and praise dance, cliff jumping, horse punching, card dealing, land stealing, unruly and truly groovy kind of movie. Put me down! He made Billy a key, took the eye from One-Eyed Jack. He's a high plains drifter. Ain't nobody swifter than the Outlaw, Johnny Black. As faith-based Western black exploitation, kung fu action, romantic comedy dramas go, it's right up there with the rest of them.
All right.
I like that. I like that last part.
Outlaw Johnny Black, 2023, written and directed by Michael Jai White. Byron Minnis with Michael Jai White. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, a lot of the crew from Black Dynamite is back. It is a different director. Scott Sanderson directed Black Dynamite. Michael Jai White obviously was Black Dynamite. This is obviously a follow-up in Heart and Soul, not necessarily any real relation.
No, it's just the main connecting tissue is the parody aspect.
Correct. And this took a long time to get out and get made, from what I gather. Because I remember when Black Dynamite hit, and it's still to this day one of my favorites.
It's, I would say, the best modern parody I've seen.
Yeah, it's dead on. They have such a deep understanding of blaxploitation films, and there's so many specific nods, and it was excellent. And then when they announced, I want to say they announced this like not that long after Black Dynamite, because Black Dynamite did very, very well in home video. I want to say it was announced like maybe even within a year.
See, I thought it was around when the cartoon was on.
Maybe.
Which is only a few years after, but still. That's not
right.
That's
and
not
I
that
didn't
far.
particularly care for the cartoon. I didn't dislike it.
Right. Yeah.
But I didn't really. It didn't have the same feel.
No. Because I mean, for me, it works in live action.
Mm.
The absurd stuff doesn't work in a cartoon because I'm conditioned to know that anything can happen in a cartoon, because you hear for years, we didn't film this live action because you can't do that.
Right.
For real. So
right.
There's a broken immersion with animation for me in my brain.
Yeah. So, Black Dynamite is a classic, and I had high expectations for this, but for whatever reason, it just kind of fell through the cracks because it never really caught on. And kind of like, I think because it took so long to make, it just never really, like, I didn't hear much about it. And then honestly, I had forgotten about it.
Yeah. I didn't even know it was released. I feel bad about that because I like him and I like everybody that works on this. I remember there being a fundraiser for it, and then I thought it just didn't make it because I never heard anything else.
Can you look up
even
the
in the
fundraiser
circles that we're in? Huh?
Look up the fundraiser in a sec. I'm curious as to when that started.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just like Black Dynamite was all over the different, genre film websites and got great reviews, and every podcast talked about it. And this one just, I know I'm not as keyed in as I was before. I don't really read a lot of movie sites anymore. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts regularly. So I don't know if it was out there and I just missed it or whatever. But like the fact that it was just on Tubi and I hadn't even heard about anything about it, it was.
See, this is why I didn't think it got made. I have the thing here. Let me just get rid of this use your data bullshit. Fucking come on. About the campaign. I click on that. Yeah. Okay. It's closed. Obviously. The goal was $1 million. There's 701 backers. And this is why I didn't think it got made. Made $32,000.
Wow.
And the first post was March 28th. Weird. Because it's close to today. 2018.
Okay, yeah.
But time doesn't mean anything anymore, so.
No, but that goes to show that they'd been talking as far back as 2018, probably earlier to make this. Yeah, the original proof of concept trailer was released in 2018, featuring Martin Cove as the villain Tom Sheely. However, he is played by Barry Bostwick in the final film. So yeah, they tried to make this for a while.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that it didn't make. $1 million is a lot to ask for. But with the popularity of Michael Jai White being in a million things, and the fact that Black Dynamite was so universally loved by everybody, I'm shocked that did not do better. No, actually, you know what? I shouldn't say that because I don't even remember seeing anything about it.
I remember seeing a trailer and that there was gonna be an Indiegogo soon, and then that was it. But let's look at what this is. This is a parody of Westerns starring all African Americans.
With the exception of like 3 or 4
one
people.
Native American.
No, because Barry Bostwick is a white guy.
I know. Well, the bad
Randy
guy's the
Couture's a
bad
white guy. Chris Brown is a white guy. Like, they were there.
So, your target audience for Westerns, isn't that like Midwest, Texas, like all the places that now would rather lynch them than watch them? So, I don't know. That's a tough sell.
Well, it's here. And
Blazing Saddles had black people, white people had a hard time with that too.
No, I know. It's got all the guys. Tony Baker's in it. Tommy Davidson, Jalen Hall. They're all there. John Cerrone shows up. Jill Scott's in it. Even Michael Madsen and Josh Barnett have like little parts in it. So there's like all these guys that like and love in this. And it just, for whatever reason, never caught. I don't know whether it just got dumped onto streaming. It must have just got dumped onto streaming.
I just really think that what's it called there? Westerns, they're not a draw for your average audience.
And here's the thing. and this is maybe
Yeah.
getting a little ahead in the review because we haven't even really talked much about the music or about the film itself. Sorry. With how good Black Dynamite was and how dead on the parody is for all of those classic blaxploitation movies. Like, it feels like a legit blaxploitation movie. It, it runs like one. It's a near perfect parody of that genre.
Yeah. Yeah.
This, on the other hand, I get that they're parodying Westerns, but the problem is I didn't recognize like specific things that they were, parodying, with the exception of having like white people play the Native Americans and like stuff like that. But like, there wasn't like, oh, I remember that scene from Once Upon a Time in the West. Or I remember that scene from the Sergio Leone movies, and they're making fun. Like,
but let me ask you two questions. What's the last blaxploitation movie you watched?
I rewatched. What was it? Cotton Comes to Harlem or Hell Comes to Harlem?
I was gonna watch Cotton this week. Yeah. And what's the last Western you watched?
I rewatched Silverado about 7-8 months ago.
Okay, so that's why, because we're not as versed in Westerns as we are in cult movies.
Agreed. But it's this idea of the general parody of Westerns as opposed to focusing on the spaghetti Western or focusing on the Sergio Leone, which I know that is a spaghetti Western, but or like,
as he says the Italian name.
I know, right? Or like the Clint Eastwood stuff or like the John Wayne stuff. Like, there's not like a focus because Western is such a broad genre.
It is.
And the tropes honestly don't seem as like silly as the blaxploitation tropes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because there was way more. Well, you could kill people as a racist a lot easier back then. You couldn't really do that in the 70s without, at least a cop showing up.
Right. But so Outlaw Johnny Black, Michael Jai White plays the outlaw Johnny Black. It's a basic revenge story, which is, very much there. He wants to revenge the death of his father, who was murdered by Brett Clayton, who was a criminal who came into town and killed his dad.
It's the setup of every Conan ripoff
and every
Conan.
Django ripoff and every Italian Western.
And we could even go into what's their names? The Chinese brothers.
Shaw Brothers?
The movies. Yeah. Even that is, you killed my master, prepare to die.
I mean, revenge is the most common trope in film.
Yeah.
Most common trope. So Johnny Black's an outlaw because he lives outside the law, but he's trying to get revenge for his dad, and he is on the run himself, but, tracking this guy. It's, very basic story. He comes across a preacher who's heading to a new town after he's escaped, and the preacher, he gets shot. He thinks the preacher gets killed, so he assumes the preacher's identity and goes to the new town, Hope Falls, and impersonates the preacher.
Yeah. And I was worried that, because you see very shortly after he got shot in the Bible, not in the chest, and a whole thing happens there, which is typical too. But when they and this may be a spoiler, it may not be, but when they meet up later, because they do, because you've seen the trailer. When they meet up later, he explains, I almost said Black Dynamite. Johnny explains why he did what he did. And the guy's sort of like,
all right, I get it.
That makes sense. All right, I get that, but we're going to fix this. And surprisingly, he's like, yeah, just let me get out of here after I find that hidden treasure. Because there's always hidden treasure.
Yeah, so Reverend Percy's played by Byron Mins, who is Bullhorn in Black Dynamite.
He had Bull in his name in this one, too.
No, he didn't, did he?
I forget what it was.
His name was Reverend Percy.
No, oh, shit. No, there was another character that had Bull in his name, like Bullhorn. Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. So as he gets to this town, we get the story. Of course, we have Barry Bostwick plays Tom Shealy, who's like the rich white guy, and he knows that there's oil in the town, so he just wants to buy the town, but the town doesn't want to sell, and that's where your major conflict comes.
Which is funny because this is like every 80s. I'm gonna buy the skate park kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a very they're not breaking any new ground here in terms.
No,
of
but I don't want a parody to break new ground.
No.
So
I mean, and that's the story, and it plays itself out exactly kind of how you're going to expect it to. So we really kind of need to talk more about whether this thing works or not. So what do you think?
Oh, Bullseye Black. That was his name. Glyn Turman played, I must have Black Dynamite again. Johnny Black played his father, and his name was Bullseye. There's a whole bunch of stuff like Crackshot Bob, that kind of stuff, which is nice. So at first I didn't want to watch this because in my head, it's a better movie than it could be if I watch it. It's an anticipation versus reality thing. And then I saw the runtime.
Yep.
And I sat and thought about that for a while before, because I'm like, I want to go into this as neutral as I possibly can. And then I thought about how many American movies, cowboy movies, are too fucking long.
All of them.
And that's what they did. That's why there's filler. That's why there's all this shit in there, because they're like, we have to make this like Unforgiven, fucking Once Upon a Time in America length bullshit, because that's funny. The longer it goes on, the funnier it got, because I'm like, they could have ended it there. They could have ended it there. They could have ended it there. But they do it in a way where you're like, all right, well, what are they going to do next? And I'm okay with that. I was not looking forward to it, but it got genuine laughs out of me.
Okay.
It's not one I'm going to go back to a lot, but I will watch it one more time with the family because we all like Mike. Also, I'm going to forget to say this. You ever see a company's name and you're like, there is no possible way you could think up a better name for your company than that?
Yeah.
You've seen those, right?
Oh, yeah.
Michael Jai White's production company is Gigantic Pictures.
Yep.
Jai Gantic. So not only is his name in it, it talks about the size and the scope of the stuff he's hoping to make, but it also teaches you how to say his fucking name right. I like that. That's my favorite thing about the whole movie. I love it when people get the perfect.
The whole movie was the name of Michael Jai White's production company.
No, because it's. I mean, I don't know if it's clever, but it's perfect. So nobody's going to compliment him on that, but I will, because I like that kind of stuff. I'm the person that like reads all the Bob's Burgers puns, and I like seeing that stuff. It's kind of funny. Anyway, no, that's not my favorite part, but
I know.
Still, it felt like watching Flash Gordon for the first time, where it's like, oh my God, please be over. But the music's okay, so I guess I'll hang in there. And there were a lot of people that I liked. There was some good slapstick comedy, which you get in like fucking Apple Dumpling Gang or whatever. I don't know why I said that.
Bizarre rap.
But it really does hit on a lot of the stuff that I remember from when I was little. And I don't really watch a lot of Westerns, but I mean, there were so many things that even I recognized from. I don't know what I'm saying.
Okay.
What did you ask me?
I don't remember. I think you answered it.
Okay.
So getting back to the runtime, I understand your point of view on that. I get that. Every Western was an epic 2+ hours.
Yeah.
I get that.
Especially in the 90s.
But
Kevin Costner.
But in a parody comedy,
yeah,
things will tend to hang around for too long. Black Dynamite's runtime was like an hour and 3 minutes or something.
Mm-hmm.
This is over 2 hours. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not funny enough consistently enough to justify hanging around for that long, in my opinion. I definitely laughed.
I can't argue that.
I definitely laughed a bunch of times, but like the
it was
idea,
funnier than I expected. Yeah.
The idea that they made the movie that, and maybe it's not that, who knows? But but the idea that they would have made the movie long and boring on purpose just doesn't make any sense to me.
No, not boring specifically, but I think they might have had a runtime in length, runtime in mind.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I just think overall, like, it's just too long. I mean, that's the biggest issue I have with it. I mean, all the characters are great. Michael Jai White's great. Tommy Davidson's great. Like Byron Mills everyone does a great job. Like, they're all funny. They're all likable. The music is good. It's a little more blaxploitation style music than it is Western music, which is an interesting choice, I think. But
I want to say there was a movie that was a mashup of that kind of thing.
Yeah, it had Richard Roundtree and Jim Brown in it, I believe. Which is why they showed up. Which is why they showed up at the end of this.
Right, yeah. I really do like that they came to the set, and that's kind of like it's almost like a thumbs up to him,
for sure.
Like a passing of the torch. He really knows his stuff. And,
he does.
And I like that. I like seeing them.
He does. Yeah.
And the great thing is that it wasn't like a huge bullshit, like they're going to come in and save the day or something. They're sitting up on a balcony at a whorehouse, and they're just having a drink, and it's they just have a line, and that's all you need. That's
two
great.
Old men watching it happen.
Yeah.
So that's where my issue with this film really falls in. It hangs around too long. And I can't, like, any comedy that runs more than like an hour 40, I'm just like, because what was it? The last Hangover movie that was like 2.5 hours or something?
Oh, I only watched the first one and part of the second one.
I mean, or maybe it was like one of the Meet the Parents movies, but like when all of a sudden when like comedies started having 2 hour plus runtimes, and we've said this, I can't even tell you how many times we've talked about movies need to be shorter on the show. We've talked about this, like everything, and very, very few films that have that extended runtime. Most recently, Nosferatu, I think, is the most glaring one of like, this movie doesn't need to be like 2 hours and 20 minutes long. It should have been a tight 90, and it would have been like the best horror movie I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
But instead, it's like marginal at best because of how boring it gets. This is not that boring.
No, not at all.
But the action sequences are too far apart. And some of the best stuff that Michael Jai White does is like comedic action stuff.
Yeah.
My favorite
in the trailer
is when he's escaping the cell and the guy comes in to check on him, and he keeps taking his gun, spinning it, slapping him in the face, putting it back in his holster. And then I'm like, that shit's great.
Yeah.
More of that. Like.
Yeah. That was fun.
What else?
I don't know. I mean, the location, it looks like every other Clint Eastwood type of town. The plot is simple but complicated at the same time when it needs to be. I don't know. It's just, I like Michael Jai White. I think he's like just a cool guy, on screen. He's really funny. And he's like, he reminds me a little bit of Kurt Russell, where he doesn't care about making himself look like a fool on camera, like Big Trouble in Little China or Captain Ron or whatever, as long as it gets the joke and entertains people. Because he does some martial arts stuff in this that's like fantastic. I swear to God, he gave some dude a concussion, back kicking him in the head in the trailer. But it's a nice mix of all of it. And toward the end, I'm like, I know this is ending because like I can feel the time. And I'm like, but you know what? I like Outlaw Johnny Black. I want to see more of him. I like what he's doing because he's not a bad guy. He's just kind of a neutral guy.
Yeah. Don't
fuck with him, and you might not get shot.
All right. Well, I guess on that note, then. All right, Chris, do you recommend, and what is your grade for Outlaw Johnny Black?
I am going to recommend this with the note that says, this is not Black Dynamite.
Mm.
The comedy is there. The parody is there. They really do know all the ins and outs, the tropes, the filmmaking stuff that made those movies what they are. And I think they have a really good eye for it. But it would be like if I made a Star Trek episode and not Star Wars. Like Black Dynamite is their Star Wars to me.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I could make a Star Trek show. I could come up with an idea and do a script and stuff, but it wouldn't be nearly as deep as, if you said, here's 2 bounty hunters no one but you has ever heard of. Make up a story. Fine. Yeah. Easy.
Okay.
But if it was the other way, if it was Star Trek, I'd be like, who? Let me look them up.
Right.
So I think it's not that bad. It's not a let me look up Westerns, but I think the nature of how blaxploitation movies were made, structured, marketed, all of it is more ripe for parody than the Westerns. Because I think the Westerns were a lot more exploitative of the people doing the work. And they're usually more serious things. I mean, Cotton Comes to Harlem is about a cotton bale in New York. So that's already kind of ridiculous.
I mean, that's really selling that film short.
No, I know. But the basic, the thing that starts the plot going is the money, right? It's money in the cotton.
Yeah,
so
it was a bunch of money and I think drugs too, if I remember.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Of
but
course.
It's not just a cotton bale in Brooklyn or whatever.
No. But like that's a silly premise to start your mostly serious movie.
Mm.
And this was just serious. And then it had its silly moments, which was
that's
fine.
what I was going to bring up in a sec too.
Yeah. I think though not going absurd with the comedy and then having serious moments, I think that it works because the serious moments feel serious and then the comedy is like a relief from his search. It's a tough balance. Comedies and drama is a very tough, horror and comedy, whatever.
Yeah.
It's tough to get the comedy right.
Okay. Did you give it a letter grade?
No. I like this. I didn't have any expectations for it because like it's a follow-up to one of the best parodies again that we've ever seen. I wasn't expecting anything. Maybe Return of the Jedi level, not Empire. I wasn't looking for that. But it delivered that. And I'm going to give it a B, maybe a B plus because it was comfortable to start watching. Because, I don't know, Michael Jai White just makes you feel comfortable. Like, whatever's going to happen, he's got it on screen. And I was kind of tired when I watched this, so.
That's fair.
When I'm tired, like, my tolerance level for bullshit is a little easier. I'm a little more forgiving. But no, I wanted to like it,
Yeah.
So I did. I don't know how many times I'll watch it, though. It's not a go back to like Black Dynamite. But.
No, and yeah, Black Dynamite's probably one of the most rewatched films I have. This is fine. And I know that's probably selling it a little short because it's probably really better than fine. But like you said, when you follow up one of the greatest parodies of all time and one of my favorite films,
Mm-hmm.
You said you didn't have expectations. I did. I had high expectations once I realized it.
I might be lying about that. I tried
fine.
not to let them affect my opinion, I guess is really the truth.
But like knowing how good the writing in Black Dynamite is and how good the physical comedy is and how well everyone worked together and all of those things really for the most part work here too.
Yeah.
I did have a hard time with how it was serious for a large chunk of the film. And then it would get slapstick out of nowhere and then kind of go back to the serious parts. And the thing was, I liked the serious parts. I thought they were actually pretty good. And I liked the slapstick parts. But the mesh of the two of them together kind of gave the film this kind of weird, like, you don't really know what you're trying to do here. Or like, you were too serious and realized it needed to be more funny,
Yeah.
or you were too funny and realized you needed to be more serious, and just ended up in this kind of weird like 60-40 area of like, now we don't know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Music's great. Characters are great. The actors are great. The actresses are great. All of that stuff works. For me, doesn't really know what it is.
Mm.
And it's too goddamn long for a comedy. So I'm giving it a tepid recommend. I think it's impossible to watch this and not compare it to Black Dynamite if you are a fan of Black Dynamite.
Yeah.
It's impossible. You can't separate the two.
Right.
And I think if you can, you probably will enjoy this more. So like if you've never seen Black Dynamite because you don't care about blaxploitation films, but you like Westerns and you watch this, you'll probably get more out of it than someone who was like really into Black Dynamite, really into blaxploitation films, because it's just not, it just doesn't, I don't think it can compare. Like, Black Dynamite's as close to an A+ as I'm going to give. I'm going to give this a C.
Well, not to mention, that's way more of a favorite genre for us than Western.
Oh, yeah. I can get down with a good Western. Like, I like those kind of like crazy murdery Italian ones. So, but like, yeah, it's just Westerns aren't as much my bag, and I just don't think it works as well. And I think they extended the runtime out too far. If it was an hour and 30 minutes, I think it would have been a lot tighter and a lot better, a lot more. It would have moved better. It would have been more enjoyable. And it's interesting that it took them so long to make it. And still like kind of just like didn't really go anywhere with it in terms of like its release.
But you know what? They did make a very entertaining movie though.
Yeah.
Basically on their own, right? So that's not so bad.
Well, Samuel Goldwyn Mayer actually ended up releasing it. So I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay, let's move on here. I don't believe I have a trailer for Sister Tempest. I do not know. I have a bunch of stills. There's probably a trailer out there, but well, let me just check, because I feel like this is a movie that like this is a fucking weird one. So, let's Sister Tempest trailer. All right, here we go.
I'm going to show you something new tonight. Something ethereal, something trippy, something you haven't ever seen before. May I present to you...
Her Majesty.
Behold, young ones, young fatlings, fallings, farthings. I'm here to bring you a story. The story of a young child like yourselves. A girl, a woman named Anne Hutchinson. In the next span of minutes and hours, we shall slit open her mind and dissect her thoughts. Behold, the story of the one.
Hold my hand. The hell was that?
Nothing to worry about, ladies. It's just a ground tremor.
That's no tremor. Something terrible is coming.
An UFO?
An angel? It's none of those things. It's all of those things. It's beautiful.
Are you comfortable? Did you enjoy the performance? Do you need anything?
We say the term weird for the sake of weird on here a lot. And this is one of those films. I remember chatting with Joe. Nice guy, but a kind of a quirky dude.
Yeah.
Which
I would imagine.
Which for this film, like, makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Sister Tempest is, as we said, is the follow up to his. So just talk about Joe for a sec. So Joe did in 2017 The God Inside My Ear. 2020 was Sister Tempest, and then he also did some kind of storyboard work and stuff. And then he has a new film, a film called The Wheel of Heaven that came out in 2023. Joe is an artist. And I realized that from talking to him that he is not playing by anybody else's rules other than his own, which I truly appreciate, but also sometimes can be maddening when you're watching something.
True.
So the story of Sister Tempest, despite all the crazy shit that's going on, is you have Anne Hutchinson, and she has a sister that's gone missing. She's taken care of her sister since they were young because their parents passed away. And then as her sister was coming to, become an adult, she gets involved with a guy that's bad news. And then that guy gets killed and she disappears. She then goes under a alien tribunal. Why? Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, good. I didn't have an answer.
There's no answers here, guys. There's no answers. So she goes under this alien tribunal, which is basically like, hey, tell us about your life. She also has a roommate who was one of her art students because Anne is a art teacher. And in case you weren't sure, the woman's name is Anne Hutchinson. You might hear it a few hundred times throughout the film. Tell me, Anne Hutchinson, what would Anne Hutchinson do in an Anne Hutchinson situation? She brings a roommate a new roommate in who was her student in art school. She has some weird, mysterious illness that makes her turn into a cannibal and go on a killing spree.
Yeah, so go ahead.
All right. We also have the Dune-esque voiceover from the prince, from what would be the princess in Dune, but is some other Marie Antoinette looking young
she
lady.
Was like the queen of the universe or something.
Something like that.
The Red
She's
Queen
there.
from Resident Evil.
Yeah, she's there. A bunch of random art students she has are there. And
I did notice one thing.
What?
The tribunal that she sits in front of is actually represented in the art gallery as her students' artwork.
Okay.
But that's about all I got.
Yeah. So how do I want to put this?
I don't know.
I liked Joe when I met him. I did. Nice guy. God Inside My Ear is a really good film. This is an artist spreading his art everywhere. And I think he probably has an idea of what is going on and what, the symbolism and everything means. But as a moviegoer and a movie watcher, this film is just so pretentious.
I don't know if it is.
You don't think so? I got pretension out of a lot of it.
No, I think that this movie is not meant for anybody except the person that made it.
Yeah. All right.
This movie, and I've never said this about anything else, but I've been thinking about this now for 2-3 days. This feels like sneaking into somebody's house that and reading their diary. But the diary is written as poetry. And you don't get the symbolism.
Yeah, unfinished thoughts. Yeah.
No, just stuff that doesn't connect to your own life. Like this means something deep to him. He is desperately trying to get something out or work through something. And halfway through the movie, once I realized that, I kind of looked at it different, and I can't. What am I trying to say? I think the fact that it was released is secondary to the fact that it was made.
Okay.
Clearly, I think this person lost someone very close to them, and this is how they worked through it, because this does not make any sense to me at all. As a movie, as an abstract concept, as a symbolic or surreal. This is just, it's so deep that it can only we can only be told what it means. I don't think we can put our own thing into it.
Okay.
So it's going to be difficult for me to critique it, but
yeah, I
not
agree
impossible.
with that. I agree with that because there is definitely a genuine feel in this. We've seen some weird art house movies over the years that just don't do it for us because they feel forced and they feel phony. Nothing in this feels forced or phony.
No, just maybe out of place to us because we don't get it.
Right.
And I'm fine with not getting stuff. Totally. My ego isn't so fragile I need to understand every movie.
Right.
Fuck, that could never happen.
Right. And for me, my issues lie in that it is just so out there and so crazy and there's no explanation and no for anything.
Yeah.
And the thing was though, because it felt genuine, I wanted that more. So it kind of actually became more frustrating to me to continue to not get answers or for things to just go all completely off the rail. Like when the roommate just starts eating people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or the oversized astronaut is stomping through the city like Godzilla.
Right.
What is the I want to understand what you're doing here.
Yeah. And I think I might be putting too much into this. I don't know. But I think as a viewer, at least for me, I felt like I can see what this person is going through. And I know how bad it is. And all I can do is watch because nothing I say will offer any comfort because of what happened.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah. I really don't. I'm just guessing on a lot of this.
I mean, that's all you can do. And I can totally see why, if you look at the reviews on IMDb, they're all very, very good because it's not a well-known film. And anyone that would have seen this at a film festival, which is where I'm willing to bet a lot of its viewings came from, I can see why film festival crowds would be like, oh, wow, this is something special.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
But you can't play it to an everyday movie fan. And I don't think for a second that that's what the intention is with this film.
Right. No, this isn't going to go to Lowe's 20-screen theater. No.
No. I mean, it's probably pretty buried on Tubi. It's probably pretty kind of hard to find.
Well, I typed in sister and I had to type in half of the second word to get it to come up.
Yeah.
So that was pretty deep down. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is kind of tough to give it part of me wants to give it a negative review, but the other part of me is you can't.
Yeah.
So we talk a lot too about it's really hard to put a grade on art, but we do it every single week. So but there's certain pieces that I think are hard to put a a number or letter grade on this. Cause I can see how this movie, somebody will watch it, a specific person will watch it, connect with it in the way that they connect with it and be like, this is an A+. And I can see how my wife would watch it and be like, this is the worst movie I've ever seen.
100%. Yeah.
So it's very doing this as long as we have, it's kind of rare to get one that really just kind of puts me with my hands up and I'm like, I hated it, but I also kind of loved it. And I'm not sure how I feel.
Yeah. I think one of the best things a reviewer can do is to be able to look at something and say, that's really bad and I like it, or it's really good, but I will never watch it again.
Yeah.
That's a difficult thing, I think, for a lot of people to do because you don't have to like everything that's good.
True.
I can accept that Citizen Kane is a good movie without saying it's the best movie ever made.
Right.
And I also think that we can critique movies because it's a narrative and it's in general supposed to tell a story. We're supposed to come away with something. And this doesn't do that at all.
Right.
So that's and it's good that I think that we both recognize that, because we can review it a way that's fair. I can't compare this to like fucking shit, anything else, Night of the Living Dead, whatever, it doesn't matter. Maybe a Jodorowsky film, but the scope is smaller.
Yeah. It's in that type of surrealist art space for sure.
Yeah. It's this is how my brain developed, and this is what this means to me. And like even people in the same family or twins could have in their head a different definition, similar but different enough that it's a different way to use the word.
Right.
You know, like I use the word kicked out, like, you know, oh, okay, come on, I'm kicking you out. And it's just like, movie's over, we got to clean. Right. But some people take that really personally, and kicking out is like the worst thing that could happen. And I didn't fucking know that. And to learn that, like, I question everything now before or after I say it, just to see, am I thinking of this the right way? Because I think of things different, and maybe that's what's going on here. They saw this person's loss as meaning this, and the word said, and I don't know. I can't tell if this is about a death, a kidnapping, an estrangement. I don't know. I like that though, because I was worried that this was going to be a movie about sibling not talking to another one because, you know, they not treated very well. And I like to watch movies to escape shit. So it didn't go where I was hoping it would. It didn't feel as a personal connection to the story as I was fearing I might.
Okay.
So that's good, because then I could just enjoy it and not think about my private life.
Right. I also do want to give a huge shout out to the production on this, because they did not have a lot of money to make. There's no way that they had a big budget, but what they were able to do, and I saw that they shot it on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K camera, which is a camera I used to have, and like they did a really, really good job on the cinematography and the look and the feel and the color. Like, it doesn't feel like a super crazy expensive movie, but it also doesn't feel like a cheapo either.
No, not like Weasels Rip My Flesh.
Yes.
It's not that
not
kind
like
of
Weasels Rip My Flesh.
No, but that's to me, that's like the lowest of the low budget that I could think of. No, like you can tell there is talent. It just needs to be exercised and refined.
Yeah.
I think with lighting, but the one thing I can critique, and I know this is a conscious choice, it sounds like the high schooler wrote the dialogue.
The dialogue,
the way it's delivered.
Yeah.
It's too proper. There's no contractions. Everybody says the full word of whatever word they're saying. And that, I mean, because it sounds so stiff. It sounds like aliens are learning how to communicate in English. And it's a little off-putting, but then at the same time, it almost sort of works, because, like, are they acting? Are they being forced to say this? Are they saying what they think they should say in this situation? So it sounds robotic. Like, I don't know enough about this. So good job making it vague enough that I have to question everything.
Right.
I don't know.
All right, let's grade. Or try to grade at least.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, do you recommend, and what is your grade for Sister Tempest?
Okay. I think I would be doing our listeners a disservice if I did not recommend this, because there are some interesting, I'm not going to say crazy, I don't want to denigrate it in any way. There's some odd stuff happening here, and there's better editing than you would give it credit for. But there are also a lot of cheesy visuals that do play into it, and like aren't that cheesy when they implement it, but it still is, but it's not. This made me feel so odd because like it wants you to hate it. It feels like it's like, go ahead, I dare you to make fun of me. And then you make fun of it and you do a your mama joke and they're like, dude, my mom's dead. And it's like, oh, great. You set me up for that. Thanks a lot. But I don't know if I can give this a grade except for give it a shot. Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
I don't know. It really did feel like I was watching somebody's private property.
Okay.
So, I mean,
give it an NA. You can give it an NA if you want.
Nah, I'm going to give it a B-. Okay. Because there is talent there. And I think something can come from it. And I think if I understand more, I'll like it more. But for the money and the talent, pretty good. Pretty good.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah, that might be the toughest movie I've reviewed on this one.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm not far off with you. It's really tough to give it a recommend. If you can handle the weird, bizarre stuff, the really arty stuff that's, narrative is buried behind 1,000,005 different metaphors and then you'll get into this.
Yeah, does April Ludgate's art on Parks and Recreation make you laugh? You might like this.
Maybe. But if you are a more everyday moviegoer, you won't last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a difficult film to watch if you're not ready for what it's going to try to give you. And I'm not even sure what it's trying to give you. So
not realism.
No, definitely not. So that's that's how I recommend it. It's a yes and a no. It depends on who you are. But I like the cinematography. I know knowing what they shot, the camera they shot it with, because it's not an expensive camera by any stretch of the imagination. You never know it though. Really good job with that stuff. Yeah. And the stock footage that they use for some of the weird visuals and because it kind of goes off in these kind of weird almost like music video type short breaks and stuff. I mean it works for the insanity that they're trying to present you with. And I mean that in the best possible way. But I know that this is also going to be very difficult because it also runs over 2 hours. So
does it?
Oh yeah, it's long. It's long.
Huh. Okay.
And I was having a hard time hanging in there at the end. I fell asleep a couple times and had to go back and rewatch parts of it. Not I think because of the film. I think it was more so because I was watching it at a time that I probably shouldn't have been watching it. So that's on me. That's not on the filmmaker. But I'm going to give it 2 grades. If you are a art house maniac who wants the weird, wild, and wonderful world of independent cinema, then this is probably a B-. But if you are a person that lives for a narrative that needs action and things fed to you, steer clear because you won't.
Or even just answers at the end.
Or anything. Yeah, you want any actual verifiable information. It's not going to happen because this is the movie that person watches the first 10 minutes of it and goes on IMDb and gives it 1 star and says that it's utter crap. And it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah. So there you go. Robert gave us a couple of tough ones, I think.
Yeah. Good.
It is good. So thank you for the support of the show.
One other thing. There was the one joke in Outlaw Johnny Black that really hit for me. In the beginning, they're showing all this footage, like black and white, photocopy dot, shaded type of stuff. And I see a smiling mouth at one point in the opening credits. I'm like, I know that picture. I've drawn that person. I know who that is. And then later it pays off when they pull out a wanted poster and you see the person on it. And then the joke is they all look the same. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but absolutely 100%. You cannot mistake this person for somebody else. So I love that.
Yeah. Speaking of mistaking someone for someone else, Joe is back. And I believe he's the 3rd installment of the Poison Ivy film franchise.
Man, I'm surprised he's still talking to us.
Oh, he loves us.
Well, hello, Bill. Hello, Chris. And hello, OTC Nation. It's your boy Joe here. And this week, Bill took me to Pound Town because, this whole thing is supposed to be in a series of erotic thrillers. And this is the first one that I would describe as even remotely erotic. He made me watch Poison Ivy 3 The New Seduction. I can't believe it took me 3 of these movies to bring up Skinamax in the 80s and the 90s. If you're in your late 40s like me, you know the deal. You wait for your parents to go to bed, you sneak downstairs, and long story short, I guarantee at least 75% of people my age have never read Lady Chatterley or Emmanuel, but they goddamn know those movies. I'd bet my house on it. While I did always find it a combination of annoying and cute that they tried to tell a story wrapped around, 55 minutes of sex scenes in a 90-minute movie, well, those movies got us through our awkward teenage years. So, salute to you, softcore porn.
Thank you,
Want
Red
to
Shoe
know
Diaries.
how I know the prologue to Poison Ivy 3 is set in 1985? It's because they say it maybe a baker's dozen times in the first 5 minutes. There's a pool boy driving up to a really nice, big old fuck-off mansion in Los Angeles, and he's listening to a baseball game on the radio. And the radio guy's like, well, here we are, starting off the 1985 season in 1985, and Grud Fudley, the second base guy, he's 0 for 53 in 1984, but this is 1985, so let's see if he can make a better record for himself in 1985. And I wish I was being hyperbolic there. I wish I could say that. I bet Grud Fudley gets traded to the Kansas City ball handlers by mid-season.
Sounds like an SCTV
I will give them
act.
this so far. They did a nice swerve on the husband catching his wife cheating or the wife doing likewise gimmick. While 3 little girls are having a tea party in a house so opulent that I'm going to have a hard time feeling sorry for anyone in it, the pool boy starts rutting, who we think is the rich mom, but is actually the horny maid, like he's a 6-point buck and it just turned October. The rich dad comes home and gets all pissed because he was supposed to be the only one cheating with the maid. Then the rich mom rolls up, and while I appreciate the twist on the old getting caught with your hand in the cookie jar vagina, this whole thing is overbooked like it was written by Vince Russo and a gaggle of teenage girls at a sleepover. I can safely say that while they have certainly presented all of the Poison Ivy films as erotic thrillers, boy, they waited 3 movies to make anything happen that was even remotely erotic and or thrilling. If I'm honest, the first one was just mostly uncomfortable and illogical. The second one put me to sleep like it was a nature documentary about grass growing after I took an Ambien.
Yeah.
This movie might have dialogue that reads like it was written by an Eastern European person who learned English from poorly dubbed anime.
Okay.
It might have acting so bad that it makes you wonder if 2/3 of the cast were found from some, adult Make-A-Wish foundation. And it may have interstitial music that makes late 70s porn soundtracks sound like John Williams.
Okay.
But it is hornier than the aforementioned John Williams score. And I can accurately say that it is thrilling to watch an early 20s Jamie Presley grope, fondle, and fuck everything in sight while simultaneously wanting to genuinely ruin these rich fucks' lives, making it an actual erotic thriller.
Okay.
They just, I'm sure in 1997 she clearly would have been the bad guy, but honestly, with 2025 goggles on, you go, girl. Fucking get yours and fuck these 1%ers. They might not be exactly the ones who fucked up your life, but they were adjacent, and sometimes close enough is what you have to work with. Just to give you a good idea of how poorly written this film is, let's just call her Ivy because it's simple. Her name is Violet. Flower name.
Interesting.
Ivy, we're calling her Ivy, fucks with the dad and daughter from the beginning. She slowly ruining their lives for revenge and yada yada. The daughter has a boyfriend, and that's Ivy's first target. She reads some letters from boyfriend, and the whole scene is literally Ivy reading the letter out loud. But it's like the most perfunctory apology letter. It's like you'd think that like they had AI back then, and she just told it to write a letter. Like the letter's like, "My dearest what's-her-face, I know my addiction to the very addictive drug cocaine has caused problems in our relationship. Often, when addicted to drugs, one will distance themselves from people who care about them because they're choosing drugs over people. I hope we can mend our relationship, as I found it to be a positive influence in my life." Like, it's literally that robotic. Seriously. Like, Ivy, née Jamie Presley, trying to cover up her southern accent like a cat covering up a fresh steamer, literally says out loud after reading that stupid fucking letter, "So, Joy's boyfriend Michael has a bit of a drug problem, eh? Interesting." Now that part's word for word. That's her line. She reads that shit. It's amazing. Like, I'd say it's insulting to the audience that you felt the need to spoon feed them information that way. But anyone who would willingly browse the video store and say, "Oh, gee, oh my God, the new Poison Ivy is out. Yoink." Well, they probably have an IQ lower than the Hecla mine in Idaho. Google that one. HECLA. It's a deep one.
Okay.
Fair.
I'll save you 90 minutes, unless you're a big Jamie Presley mark, in which case you really should see this movie. Like, there's maybe a whole 10 minutes where she's not on screen. Enjoy. So, as happens in almost every thriller ever, Ivy gets like 90% of the way there. Coked up boyfriend, dead. Nosy housekeeper, lacking a pulse. Horny dad who is tempted into stooping a barely legal teen a little easier than he probably should have, well, his heart beats no more. And when Ivy wants to do a suicide pact with her childhood friend, turned object of her vengeance, the tables get turned. Well, more like the stairs get turned. She doesn't know how to take the stairs bump, and her neck isn't all the way a neck anymore. Jot this down, kids. You need a functioning neck. It's important. It's important that I wrap this up. So here's the thing. The good. It only took them 3 movies, but they finally figured out that an erotic thriller should have even, just a little bit of eroticism. Jamie Presley isn't even close to my type, but she is half naked and groping like 75% of the cast for the better part of this movie. So at minimum, I can say that this movie is as advertised. The bad. This is actually a bit of the good too, because this movie is laughably bad and you should watch it. The dialogue is astounding. Like, it feels like they all like accidentally got first drafts instead of shooting scripts. It's incredible. I don't know if I can call this one the best, but it's the one I enjoyed the most so far.
That's fair.
So whatever I gave the first one, I don't remember. I was probably being way too nice anyway. 1 and 3 both get C's. 2 gets a fuck you. This one gets, I don't know, C+, whatever. I'll be back next week with the final Poison Ivy film, thank God I don't believe in. It's called Poison Ivy, The Secret Society.
Sick.
Which kind of makes me think it's going to be like a combination of like, what's that dumb movie with the Dawson's Creek kid and
Skulls.
The secret fraternity, the Skulls, and a little bit of Eyes Wide Shut, which is, blunt. Until then, be good, everyone.
Thanks, Joe. You're a good sport, man. We love you.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So, speaking of good sports, here is the Reverend Scott. What about you? I know you had more of an understanding before me because you actually turned me on to a number of things. Where did you kind of get your feet wet in the anime world?
Oh, Jesus
Your
Christ.
feet,
All right.
among other things.
Gross.
What?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
With Reverend Scott. Shouju Sabaki Shika Geto Geika.
Sounds good to me.
there, Bill and Chris. This is Reverend Scott. Are you excited for another segment of Holy Shit?
No.
No, I'm more excited for my next kidney stone.
That's the spirit. And oh boy, do I have a doozy for you today. I think I better start from the beginning. And by the beginning, I mean before I even saw the movie. You see, I have one or two friends I typically go to see these movies with. Usually I toss out a suggestion on what I think looks interesting, but last weekend, before I even got to look, one of my buddies suggested we go see Ash at AMC West 12 at 5:20 p.m. on Sunday. Rather specific request, but I appreciate the attention to detail, and I had never heard of Ash, so I took a look at the poster. I see Asa Gonzalez and Aaron Paul in space helmets with some horror-looking goo stretched between their faces. So it seems like sci-fi horror. I'm down with that. But then I notice this is a closed captions for the hearing impaired showing. I'm not sure I want to see all the descriptive text on the screen, but then I noticed that Sunday at AMC West 12 at 5:20 p.m. with closed captions is literally the only showing of this film the entire day anywhere, period. Interesting. But I figure,
Whatever.
and we get tickets. I'm willing to embrace the fact that I'm getting older and my ears are probably not what they used to be, especially when it comes to dialogue. But hey, at least I'm younger than you two, am I right?
Stop it.
Ash begins with a title to let you know this is a Shudder original, then some wacky liquid kaleidoscope-looking visuals intercut with Asa Gonzalez playing Rhea in a jumpsuit, bloody and laying on the floor of this futuristic-looking room. We jump cut from her to some genuinely shocking scenes of people's faces contorting and melting from inside their space helmets, then back to Rhea waking up and groaning as she feels the big old gash on her forehead, and she looks confused. There's almost no light except for some flashing red lights, and the computer voice keeps repeating that there's some sort of malfunction and someone needs to reboot the computer to turn on the auxiliary power, which to me seems like a piss-poor way to design your auxiliary power to work. But anyway, the first thing you notice when you finally see her is just how strikingly gorgeous Asa Gonzalez is. I mean, it's borderline distracting.
Trust me on this one, my dudes.
We're treated to more dim red flashing lights, and then switching to horrifying gore faces, and then back to Rhea as she wanders the halls in the near dark, and she finds a body on the floor in a pool of blood, a knife sticking out of his chest. She pulls the knife, and then she keeps it, and she continues. And she finds the control room and reboots the computer finally. At this point, I think, thank God, auxiliary power will turn on and we'll finally get some fucking lighting. Nope, just slightly more red lights turn on. The only scenes that seem to have any decent lighting to them are the flashes of the gore we've seen. Which, by the way, fun fact, none of those melting faces inside the helmets actually happen to anybody. That's just visions she's having.
Like, what is the director trying to show us other than disgusting shit?
Right.
It becomes clear very quickly that not only does Rhea not know where she is or who she is, but even more concerning, she doesn't know why she seems to be the only one left alive on this space station she's found herself on. The couple of people she's found have been laying in pools of their own blood, stabbed to death.
That's not weird.
Nope, not at all. Not at all.
So here's the $10,000 question. If you woke up on a space station on what looks like a foreign planet with amnesia, with the only other passengers being dead bodies, what would you do next?
I'd just post up on a roof and wait with a rifle. So there you go, FBI.
I appreciate your honesty, Chris, but the answer is you go outside immediately onto the foreign planet's surface to explore some more with no spacesuit on.
Why would you do this?
Good question, because all she finds is yet another dead body in a spacesuit with a giant rock smashed through its face and a very weird-looking landscape. Lots of cool colors and pretty lights in the sky and some light ash falling from that sky. Oh, and there's a shadowy figure in the distance that mimics her movements and then disappears. But don't worry about that. She almost falls into a giant gorge through the dense fog and then decides, you know what, I just better get back to that station. And that's when she realizes she's having trouble breathing. Go figure. She barely makes it back, puts some medical sticker thing on her neck that seems to help heal her, and then she hears a bang on the outside door. So if this was you on a foreign planet, everyone else is dead, you don't know who you are, and you hear something outside of the ship banging on the door, what would you do? Would you immediately open the banging door to the station without checking what's outside?
I would punch that girl.
Fair enough.
Well, she obviously opens the door, and in comes Breaking Bad's own Aaron Paul as Brian. And no, it's not spelled Brian with a B-R-I-A-N, it's Brian spelled B-R-I-O-N. I know because I was reading the subtitles. Anyway, Brian with an O calms down Rhea and tells her he's in the large station that orbits the planet. He just came down during the most recent window of time that he could travel down to the planet's surface because he heard a distress call. Gee, I wonder why. But him and the rest of the crew, including Rhea, they're all basically sacrificing the rest of their lives from being on a dying Earth to see if they can make life on this new planet, a planet that they call Ash. That's the nickname. It's got some other name, but it's fucking stupid. So they can't go back to Earth. But also, almost everyone on the mission is dead now.
This was depressing.
Yeah.
But don't worry, things get worse. But first, Brian tries to help Rhea with her massive head wound by introducing her to Medibot, which is like a suitcase-shaped robot arm with the screen that talks with a heavy Asian accent and repeats everything in Japanese after saying it in English. I know this because I read the subtitles. Anyway, Medibot is the best character in the movie. Trust me, after a few flashbacks where they try and help you get to know the rest of the crew, which Rhea definitely was part of and was even romantically involved with the one that she pulled a knife out of, we don't ever really see them enough to really give a shit about any of them. One girl named Clark we haven't even seen dead on the ship, so she could be just wandering around the planet right now for all we know. Anyway, back to the best character, Medibot. The little arm pops out and then it scans you and it tells you to be still and be calm, and then these little metal arm thingies pop out of the arm and scare you as it tries to fix and stitch you up and pull shit out of your head. Everything it says is accompanied with some inappropriately fun kitty sound effects. At one point, Rhea scans a dead body with a blunt force trauma to its head, and a little animation shows the head getting hit with a hammer, and then an RIP to your friend as a flower pops up out of the chest. It reminds me of like some shit you'd see on Fallout or BioShock or something like that. And it's really the only fun thing in this film. I mean, adding Aaron Paul into this movie so Rhea has someone to talk to definitely improved it, but they mainly just go back and forth with some of the longest, most awkward pauses you've ever fucking heard. And Rhea refuses to leave until she figures out the mystery, while Brian keeps telling her they only have like 12 hours to get back to the satellite station before the window closes, and not to mention their current station is leaking oxygen, so if they don't make that 12-hour window, they'll die from suffocation.
You're fucked.
Yeah.
So just repeat that conversation over and over in dim red lighting for like 35 straight minutes, and you've seen the second act of this movie. Between Rhea wandering around alone and then taking naps in between arguments with Brian, we're over an hour into this movie already.
The story's shallow, even though it takes a lot of time to go over its, where it's going. It takes time.
The third act of the film finally picks up the pace. I feel like that's kind of where they started writing this movie, and they just kind of decided how to add a bunch of shit to it to make it a full film. We get some twists and turns and revelations about what happened on the ship, and if I cared more about this movie, I would probably stop talking about it here, but I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, this is garbage.
So if you still want to see this and don't want to hear any spoilers, fine, stop listening. But trust me, I'm about to save you 95 minutes of your life. First, Rhea realizes she was the one stabbing the crew to death, but she can't figure out why. You get some first-hand POV of her murdering people. But later, Rhea finds recordings of her team exploring the surface of the planet, and she sees them find these giant holes made out of metal. And these giant holes are like technology to terraform the planet, and that's what that ash is that's falling from the sky. So naturally, one of them throws a giant rock into the hole and counts to see how deep it is, only to have the rock fly back up and smash his face in. That part was funny too. Just so happens that actor was also the director of the movie. More on him in a minute. After he dies, they find a little sticky plant-like organism in the hole, and they decide to bring that back to the station, because that's always a good idea. While studying the organism, Rhea puts a piece of it into a little glass container, and then it starts to rapidly grow, right as a crew member is walking in. And then it breaks the glass and it jumps right into his eye or something like that and goes inside his head. And then he starts freaking out. And then you find out, oh my God, that's the guy from the Raid Part 1 and 2. And he just goes fucking buck wild and starts beating everybody's ass. And then Rhea stabs him like over and over. And then he gets back up and attacks Rhea's boyfriend. And so the little thing moves from that guy to Rhea's boyfriend, and he turns into like a slobbering fucking psycho. So Rhea has to stab him to death too. And finally, the parasite jumps from his ear and crawls into the gaping head wound on Rhea. And that's pretty gnarly.
It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, for sure, but like, it is extremely uncomfortable.
So you know what that means. This whole time, Rhea has been the one that's infected with the parasite. And not only that, but she finds Brian's dead body. And when she scans it, she finds out that he's been dead for 51 hours. That means this whole time that when she's been talking to Brian, it's just been a hallucination created by the fucking parasite, trying to get her to leave the planet or something. Aaron Paul was all like,
nobody could see it but you.
Bitch. Then she escapes the station, gets off the planet, and then when you think it's over, we see the orbiting space station is completely infested with the parasite. The end.
This poor girl's life is fucked. It's still fucked. Credits.
The director is record producer, rapper, actor, and all-around super guy, Flying Lotus. Luckily, he barely does any acting in this, but unfortunately, he barely does any directing either.
I know what you're doing. I don't know why. You did it. What do you get from it? I don't. And then, so it's like, that's how this feels.
I mean, there's probably a good movie hiding in here somewhere under all the lighting issues, pacing issues, and editing issues, but we're probably never going to find it. Flying Lotus also directed the worst short from the worst VHS film, VHS 99. This movie often looks pretty when you can see it, but it's just put together so poorly. I feel like Flying Lotus was thinking,
I also look best because I'm such an artistic person.
And despite being one of the most stunning women I've seen in a movie in a really long time, Eiza Gonzalez's character just never makes you feel like you want her to even succeed.
And then we're supposed to care about that character at the end?
Were we though, really?
Yeah. I think the movie really wanted us to see, oh, she's changed. No,
I didn't get that.
So ultimately, I do not recommend Ash. It wants to be Alien, The Thing, and a number of other sci-fi horror movies that it pulls from, but ultimately it's just a poor imitation.
So everything's good until you see something really good and you're like, oh, that's shit over there.
Yeah.
That's mid-level shit. Okay.
I give Ash a C- at best, solely because the decent effects and visuals when you can see them, the colors, Eiza Gonzalez, and of course, Medibot. Wow, I talked way too much about that trash, way more than you talked about my Patreon suggestions of Strange Darling and Presents. When are you going to review those instead of anime porn like Midori and Kite? I mean, don't get me wrong, I believe those reviews deserve some A's because they were very interesting to hear, especially from a 2025 mindset. But I want to hear about my picks. And I'm pretty sure you promised to review Strange Darling in Presence.
Oh, did I? No, I don't think so.
Whatever. I gotta go. So until the next parasite bitch makes you see Aaron Paul, peace and love, guys. Holy shit with Reverend Scott, the biggest dick in podcasting.
Nobody's dick is that big.
We'll get to that.
No one.
I guess we can add Scott's picks too. Fine, whatever. Whoa, we're at the end of the show. Thank you to Robert for his suggestions for this week. I gotta go to the bathroom real bad, so follow the show, HC Bill, Acrothulu, Patreon, all that stuff. We appreciate all your love and caring and suggestions.
Yes.
Everyone have themselves a good week. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.